Hey guys, Miss Capola here for 6.10, Solving the Quadratic Equations finale, which means we get to combine all four different ways of solving quadratic equations algebraically. So if it says that you have to use algebra to solve a quadratic, you got to use one of these four methods. I know it's cray-cray, isn't it? What's even more cray-cray is that I already recorded this video and then I deleted it. So here we are again. Hopefully we have a lot of fun. Again together, right? So let's look at this first question. Oh, by the way, there's these little hints here. When you're solving a quadratic, you always have to make sure you have it equal to 0. And if you're unsure about the method, because we have learned graph it and look for the roots, okay? If it's got some nice, beautiful roots, that means you can factor it. All right, so without further ado, here is number 1. So unfortunately, he is not set equal to 0. So I'm going to do that first. And when you are changing sides, you are changing sign. So that is why I wrote minus 8x plus 2. And of course, he's going to be equal to 0. My next fun step would be to combine like terms. So 5x minus 8x is negative 3x. And then negative 12 plus 2 is a positive 10. All right. So he can be factored. I know this because I can think of the factors. The other way I know is because oops, let me undo that, Control Z. I actually graphed this little guy right here, x squared minus 3x minus 10. You can't see his vertex, but let's see. There it is. So I graphed it. And when you look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I can see that he's got nice integer x-intercepts. And I can even analyze graph and find the zeros, right? So I know he is factorable. What I'd like for you to do is set up the box if you're still using the box to factor him, or factor him on your own using your brain. Don't use mine. So pause the video and then check your factors with mine. Did you pause that video? I hope so. So the factors are x plus 5 times x minus 2, right? Because those are two things that multiply to give me 10 and add to give me negative 3. Shoot, I messed up the factors. It's x minus 5, x plus 2. And so once I have this guy in factored form, I get to set each factor equal to 0, and that is so much fun. And then when I solve for x, I've got x is equal to 5 and x is equal to negative 2. I will check to make sure I'm correct, and yes, looky here, an x-intercept is 5. And then if I check the other one, 1, 2, that x-intercept is negative 2. I'm so proud of myself, I'm going to smiley heart star that question. So we factored him, and the reason that we decided to factor him is because he had rational roots. And if you have rational roots or rational x-intercepts, you can factor. All right. Find the zeros algebraically. So again, we need to do some form of algebra. When it's said find the zeros, all that means is set that function equal to 0. These ones are my favorite. They are easy and they are quick. Because there's no bx term, and because I only have 2 items, an x and a constant, I can move the constant over, and then we get to have so much fun. Let's pick a more fun color because we're about to have fun, like this salmon color. Square rooting both sides, I've got x equals the square root of 27. Oh my gosh, I hear you in the background. That's not right, that's not right. Oh, what did I forget? Oh, when you take the square root, don't forget the plus or minus. Okay, so I remembered that. Now, this is our final answer. Unless they tell you, hey, you, put it in surf form. And you might be like, hey, what does surf form mean? I don't have a surfboard. No, surf means simplest radical form. They'd actually write it out and write simplest radical form, but I don't have enough time. So simplest radical form means we got to go on the prowl, and we got to prowl for perfect squares that go into 27. 9 is a perfect square that goes into 27, and it happens to be 9 times 3, everyone's second favorite number. All right, and so when you're putting something in simplest radical form, the perfect square, which is that 9, he's on good behavior. So he gets a get out of jail card, and he was a 9, and now he's a 3 because the square root of 9 is 3. This guy's not so perfect. He's being bad in jail, so he's got to stay there. And so my answers are x equals plus or minus 3 rad 3. And when you look at the graph, okay, here's this guy graphed. I've got negative 5.2 on the right-hand side, and if I analyze graph and find this 0, it should be positive, which it is. All right, so we've got negative 5.2 and 5.2. And I'm just going to check, is 3 rad 3 in fact about 5.2? It is. Well, that was fun. All right, let's go to the next page. I'm having deja vu because I feel like I just did this problem. Oh, I did. All right, so solve this quadratic equation. I wish the example said put it in surf form, but it doesn't. So let's see. Can I factor him? Let me move that 4 over to start. So I moved the 4 over to start. I'm struggling to find things that multiply to give me 4 and add to give me 12. That's because there are no rational numbers. Well, there are no numbers that actually do that. And if you look at these x-intercepts. They are not nice. They are actually irrational. So you might be saying, Self, how are we going to do this? Well, don't worry. Here I am to help you, okay? So maybe moving that 4 over and setting it equal to 0 wasn't a great idea. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to keep the 4, and I'm going to complete the square. Why? Well, because this b value is even, and it's easy to complete the square when your b value is even. Okay, so remember, when you're completing your square, your end game is to get a quantity squared, and then you want equals a number on the other side. All right, so we always take half, right? So half of 12 is 6, and I've got to square him. 6 squared is positive 36, but what I do to one side, I must do to the other side, right? And so x squared plus 12x plus 36 factors into x plus 6. Quantity squared, and 4 and 36 is a nice old 40. All right, solving this is quite fun. We get to square root both sides. And when you square root both sides, don't forget that plus or minus. So I've got plus or minus rad 40. So my last step is to move the 6 over to get x alone, and when they change sides, they also change signs. So these are my two answers, unless they said put it in surf form, simplest radical form. If they say to simplest radical form it, uh-oh, that means you got to go on the prowl. What perfect square goes nicely into 40? 4, you say? I agree, isn't it? It's 4 times 10. And 4 is a perfect square, so he gets to come out of that jail, that is the radical, and the square root of 4 is 2. Unfortunately, 10 is not a perfect square, and he's got to stay in jail. What I'd like to bring your attention to is the fact that you can check your work. So I have graphed the function. I'm analyzing graph, and I'm getting my zeros right now, okay? So it says my zeros are negative 12.3 and 0.325. So if I do negative 6 plus the square root of 2 rad 10, I should get one of those as an answer. 0.3245, well, that's 3.5, 3.25, all right? And then I can come up and grab him and check it again. So this is just a great way to make sure that the work that you did algebraically actually aligns to the work that, or the actual answer. So if you made a mistake, you can go back and check it. So 12.3, which is what we have here. See? Negative 12.3. Cool. All right, so one more. Find the roots algebraically. Now, by process of elimination, you probably already know what we're going to try to use to solve this guy. We've already factored, and I'll have you look at this guy. I've graphed him for us. I've also had my calculator find the x-intercepts. We're at 0.6363 and 414. Okay, so factoring is out of the question. Inverse operations kind of out of the question because you have that b value. No one wants to complete the square with that 9x up in there, so we're going to use the quadratic formula. So I will list my a, which is 2. Oh, I didn't show that I have to set this guy equal to 0 when I'm finding the roots. Sorry. My b is negative 9, and my c is 3. So why don't you, actually, before I tell you what to do, I'm going to sing you the song. Quadratic formula, because I know you want me to sing it to you again. You ready? Let's sing it along together. 1, 2. 1, 2, ready, go. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, set up your skeleton and sub in your values. I triple dog dare you. Ready, set, go. Okay, a couple things to note. Since our b is negative, you have to be extra diligent when typing this in on your calculator. You have to use parentheses, or you have to use the fact that you know negative 9 times negative 9 is a positive 81. So check your substitution. What you're allowed to do, guys, is because it says round to the nearest hundredth, um, after you simplify this guy, negative negative 9 is positive 9, plus or minus. Um, you can either, so I'm kind of doing this math, but you can actually type this guy straight in on your calculator to get your answers, all right? So I'm going to set up my fraction template on my calculator, if it will let me. And here we go. 9. I'm going to do the plus first. So I just want to prove to you, whoa, what is that? Hello, get out of here. All right, it's taking me a second, so I'm going to pause it and then I'll show you what it looks like. Give me a second. Okay, so just depending on, what people expect from you, here are all the 4 pieces simplified. So when you type that in on the calculator, and so I just wrote 81 minus 24, but that is equivalent to rad 57, because 81 minus 24, okay? And so that gives me an answer of 4.1, and they want nearest hundredth, so I'm going to write 4.14, okay? I'm going to come up here, I'm going to grab him, and I'm going to change that plus now to a minus, and that'll give me my last answer. Oops, sorry, my calculator's being weird. My last answer of 0.36. And so those are my 2 answers, and if you look at our graph, we have them, right? 0.36 and 1.14. All right, so that's it. It's been fun. See you next time.